Time here. Thanks for tuning in. I got a little video here for you on the Horizon Hobby Carbon Cub S2, the newer version, the 1.3 meter. This is the bind and fly version, so you've got to bind it with your own radio. And you know, the Spectrum radio I had was an older type, and I wouldn't work with this. And I just didn't want to buy a real expensive radio. So the main part about this video is going to be a little bit about the airplane and some tips that I've learned while assembling it versus some of the things I've seen online of some problems people had, but I'm going to show the use of this radio and binding it with it, and that is, excuse the glare, this is the Orange RX TX10i from Hobby King. It's a full range radio. It's DSMX and DSM2 compatible, has Hall effect gimbals and so forth. I'll throw a link down in the description to the radio, but it's a nice radio, really good value. I was able to get to bind to the airplane, no problem, but the biggest problem I'm seeing online and seeing a lot of, well, not a lot, but questions and so forth on the forums is getting this thing to work and control the functions for the safe features on the Carbon Cub, which has safe and smart technology and other things on here that you can turn on and off. And you want to be able to control and turn on and off the different modes of the safe mode, panic mode, and a few other things. And the way Spectrum does the upper channels is a little weird. And the manual that comes with this, well, there is no manual that comes with this airplane, or not this airplane, this radio. That comes with this radio is, you don't get one, you have to download the PDF from the website. So I hate scrolling through PDF, so I printed it out. It gives you the basics, but leaves a little bit desired. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to touch on the Carbon Cub itself and a few things that I learned when I assembled it, and I saw some people have some troubles with online, and then we'll get into the trick to getting the radio to work. So let's see here. One of the things I saw was the confusion on the hardware and hardware bags and what they go to. They give you a pretty good manual, but there's quite a few things that are missing in here. One thing is just a parts list with, you know, yeah, there's a parts picture, but it doesn't tell you what bags are what and so forth, or things like that. So there was a lot of questions about which hardware bag goes to what part of the airplane, which screw goes where, and the information is here. We gotta kind of look for it. But what I found is bag A goes to the first part you do, which is the undercarriage, landing gear. Bag B goes to the tail feathers, and bag C goes to the wing, and let's see, the struts. So so you get into bag A, and you got a couple different size screws there and so forth. They don't give you a list, but they do give you the info. Here it is right here. The size of the screw and how many. Just get yourself, I mean, if you're this far into the hobby, you should have at least one set of these. Little digital El Cheapo Harbor Freight calipers. Just measure the length of the screw and the diameter, and you got it. So it makes it real easy. Horizon, I get Horizon, Hobby King mixed up. They actually give you one additional hardware of every item that you need. So there's one extra screw, one extra wheel spacer, wheel collar. Wheel collar is one that takes a set screw on down. One thing I noticed when building this airplane, and I saw a few people with the videos online, they missed one important item. And that is, if I get it, this little screw that goes on the bottom of the rudder, and it's the rudder tail wheel hinge pin. I don't know if you can see it there or not. There it is. Get up in there. Focus. There it is. Anyways, that dude right there, up in there. Don't forget that. Otherwise, this will break. That's one thing that I found. Let's see. Also, I had a little bit of a pet peeve, you know, being a pilot, having owned an airplane. I've seen some of these things assembled, and they have the wing struts on here, and they're more or less for looks, but man, it bugs the heck out of me when I see these things, and they're all kind of warped and wonky looking on some of the planes. The ends of these struts are, you can't see it there as much as you can see here, but you can see it there. it's slotted, so you can adjust it, mount it, leave the screws a little loose, pull down the wing, pull a little tension on here, and preload these struts so they're under tension. It's gonna make the airplane even more rigid and then it'll look better. I don't know, it's just a pet peeve of mine. So, oh yeah, and here's a big tip. And I should have known better. A lot of us know better. Take the prop off the airplane when you're starting to set up the radio. Otherwise, you will break a prop, get a new ding when it suddenly turns on and flies into the motorcycle. So, take that off. Let's see here. What else we got? Another tip, especially when you're taking off the wing, is quality screwdrivers is one. JIS screwdrivers, for those who work on Japanese things, is another thing. But magnetize these things. Take a magnet, drag it across it, magnetize that thing, because getting these screws, they sit down in here in a little well. Getting them out there without turning the airplane over is kind of a pain in the butt, and this makes it less easy to lose them. And looky here, there's a screw here for my servo horn I got to put in. These magnetic little organizers for hardware and so forth is handy too. So okay, so that's enough I think of the tips for the airplane. I did install the optional flaps. The airplane comes with without flaps. The flaps are physically there, but the foam is molded. So you have to install a servo, make some cuts in the foam. You need a servo that has metal gears. I'll just show you what I did here real quick on that. Flip this over so we can see what's going on here. I think they were out of stock of the Park Zone or the Horizon Hobby servo, but my local hobby shop had this high-tech all-metal gear, if this thing will focus, servo here that would fit the bill. You need an extension, servo extension wire, so you can plug it in. Because what they gave you there, you can see it's barely long enough. I use servo tape and hot glue to mount it in here. A little belt and suspenders approach. Use a long, come on, focus on the servo and not the strut, please, camera. Lighting's not the greatest in here. I use a long single arm. And on your, let's see, I guess you call these torque tubes, torque arms on the flaps. These little white clevis attachments, they're threaded on like a nut with the pins. I ran those down a little bit so I'd have a little more travel on the flaps. This is where you have to cut with the X-Acto knife to free the flap up. You have to make two cuts so you have a space so it's not dragging. And then there's a little triangular piece here you got to cut out on both sides, of course, and pinch that and pull that out. And you don't want to cut too deep because otherwise you'll cut into the hinge and that won't be good. The instructions are pretty good on installing the servo. Anybody that's done any, work on these type of things before knows, you're going to have to adjust these. I had to adjust these out a little bit. I had to play with the spline and so forth to get that where I wanted it on the servo. You're going to need to put the servo on either a servo tester so you can find center, or on your transmitter or something to at least get it close when you set it up. They do tell you in the instructions here, got a little bookmark, and the instructions are pretty good on installing the servo. It's here on page 20. They tell you to connect the servo extension to auxiliary 2 port of the flight controller. Well, it's not marked auxiliary 2 port of the flight controller, and I see I wrote on here. It's number 8. I'll show you in the airplane, but it's actually better here. They got this picture down here. This is actually another part of the manual, not really set to the flaps, but it tells you a breakdown of 1 through 8, and these correspond to the plugs or the sockets in the flight controller and what goes into them. This does not correspond to the channels. The radio channels are not even close to this, and I've made a printout and so forth to see, so you can see how I've set it up. I'll make that available. I'll put it up here as well. But you actually end up plugging the flaps into number 8. It's kind of hard to see there, but I'll show you in the airplane, but it's kind of hard to see in the airplane. So I think that's about. Yeah, sorry about that. I had to cut away there for a second, come back to you. So I was trying to show you where, I don't know if you can see here where this might be too bright, you know, where the servo for the flaps plugs in. It plugs into number 8 there. You can see the little number 8 down there. Number 7 is open because I don't have the landing assist module option on this airplane. I didn't opt for that. And I also do not have the GPS option, which I think is another $49. That plugs into the flight controller. On the other side there's a plug there that says GPS. But let's get to the radio and the setup of the radio and so forth. And we'll jump right over to that. I'm going to pause for a second and get the airplane powered up and show you how I had some of this stuff set up. Okay, now we've got the radio powered up, and I've got the battery plugged in on the Cub. Remove the prop at this point, otherwise you'll end up with a broken one. This is a 9x6 prop, by the way. You can see the little green light. That tells you what mode, safe mode, it's in. Green light is the beginner mode. Bring the transmitter over here. And we can set it here on the table if we got enough room. Show this thing back. Here we go. Okay. I got a ceiling light above me, so the lighting's not the greatest here. So, okay. So we'll run down what I did on the radio and so forth. I ended up. This is just my personal preference. I guess you can pretty much put them anywhere. But as you can see, and that's why you take the prop off. Throttle cut. There's my first thing, throttle cut. There we go, throttle cut. Now I won't do anything like that. But you can see it's working, aileron's working. And since it's in safe mode, if I give it some churn, see, it's trying to coordinate. Trying to coordinate, well, beginner mode of the safe. It's trying to coordinate the turns and so forth. Kind of neat. I assigned this switch to be able to control which safe mode I'm in. And the green light, you know, some of these colors, digital is great, but you lose certain colors and things don't video right. I don't know if you can see. You know, that thing is green. It's bright green. See my hand? But it doesn't film very good. So I flip my switch here, which I'm using, which is, I can't read that thing. What is that? S. I think it's switch 5. Yeah, switch 5. So we'll go to middle position. You can't even see it. Okay, it's blue. See? Blue. Let's switch to blue. In real life, you can see it as bright blue. That's intermediate. And then I bring the switch back to position 3. And that goes in experience mode, which is basically no safe, unlimited. You do have some stabilization. Then the panic mode. Say I'm in experience mode and I get myself in trouble. I set it up to this switch here, which is spring loaded. Pull that, boom, goes right to basically back to beginner mode. The plane will right itself. But if I release it, there's a 1, 2, 3, 4 second count, 3 or 4 second count before it goes back to the mode you're in. So let's see. Okay, and then flaps. Let's go back around the back. This just shows you that you can use one of these radios with the bind and fly spectrum with safe and all these extra features. So this is what I use for my flaps. This is switch 2 is what I assigned. Just my preference, so you can move anything. So 0 is retracted. Position 1 is partially deployed, and then that's fully deployed. I wonder if safe mode is limiting that. I don't think it is. Okay, I saw those twitch. I got to play with the endpoints and so forth to get it where I want it in the radio, but big thing right now, everything is working. And now you can see in experience mode quite a bit more travel. I did set up dual rates. I had 85 and 70. This dual rate switch here is for aileron and elevator, and this switch over here is just rudder. So I don't know if you can see much difference. I add a little bit of expo to it as well. I'll play with that once it's in the air, but so it all works. Let me I'm going to turn off the airplane and show you all the settings and so forth in the radio. So hold on one second, be right back to you. Okay, back with you here. Got the airplane battery unplugged. Don't need it wiggling around back there to show you all the features on the radio and how I set it up. As you can see, it's not a bad looking radio. It's got supposedly Hall effect gimbals. They feel nice. Switches feel good. About anything else that's out there. Is it the best radio in the world? I don't know, but it seems to work. And it has let's see, up to 20 model memory. You can do helicopters, drones, and so forth with it. So let me just show you a couple things on here. One thing that I noticed, and it took me a little bit confused, is sometimes it says off right here where it says 7:59. That's your timer. If I hit full throttle, yeah, it's going even though it's not connected to the airplane anymore. So there's your timer. That's what that is. This channel 1, 2, and 4. Yeah, I know what this stuff was. The book doesn't tell you anything about what's on the displays. That channel 1, 2, 3, and 4, those are your dual rates. So channel 1, which is channel 1 is your ailerons, 2 is your elevator, AETR is how this is set up. So I'll flip the dual rate over here switch, which I have set up. Let me get back where you can see the whole radio camera. Switch that. You can see the numbers change because I have them both linked on there. It's for aileron and elevator on that switch, and switch 1 over here is changing just channel 4, which is just rudder. So that's what that is. It's got a scroll wheel just like everybody else's radios. Basically, you can scroll through. Apparently, it does allow telemetry. There is some telemetry on the Carbon Cub. Tells you the battery. I haven't got that set up yet, and it's not really high on my priorities, but I'll try to get that going. Got a bind button, a cancel button here. This takes regular AA's. I'm using some lithium. Overall, the radio feels good. It's got a nice handle. But let's get into how I got this thing to work. And there was one thing that in one of the settings of the game, they got me stumbled, and was causing me a problem. With some research and so forth, I got it finally figured out. So I'm going to move over here to my computer so I can look at my list. Basically, the problem is when you do the setup, don't set up the flaps in the model setup, because that will assign channel 6 to, I don't know, it was assigning it to one of the channels on its own. You couldn't control it, you couldn't change it. So then when I was trying to assign channel to the flaps, it was actually controlling 2 channels, which was one of the channels that goes to either the panic or the safe mode select. So, it was just stuck in beginner mode. So let me run down the setup real fast of what we have here. So, I don't know if we can. So you want to start off, usual deal. You start off with model select, press and hold, come up, you get model. I already set that, but I'll go back here. It'll be under model setup. So under model setup, model select, you're going to select airplane. And then I change the name. So it's model number 1. This is Carbon. You can go through the different, there's 20 slots in there, so you can do that. You have to press and hold down to enter. So just cancel brings you back. So you select the model that you want in the memory. I put in the name. I just put Carbon in there. I think you only can have like 8 letters, so it's a little. And then when you get into model, let's see. You scroll down here. Ignore the type select. That would be obviously model type. You would do airplane. That's where you do the model name. Frame rate copy, don't mess with that. So there's another page here. Flaps. Disabled. Do not enable that, because that's what I had before, and that made a mess. Make sure it is disabled. I'm going to cancel so it doesn't turn it on, because that locked up channel 6 and I couldn't make any changes to it. That was the major source of my problem. Also, I found on the forums it had to do with the endpoints of a couple of the channels. I got a list here of the settings. I will make a PDF or put a graphic up in here or something so you guys can see these. But you can see model airplane, model name, setup, flaps disabled, and you go back to the main menu, and then you're going to get into servo setup. So let's get back to the main menu here, press and hold. Servo setup. I had to reverse some channels here, and this is how I got in trouble with this thing flying off the table, even though I had the throttle cut off and so forth. When I reversed it, away she went. So you're going to reverse some of the channels. You're going to reverse channel 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 2 and 3 will be normal, believe it or not. I'll show you here what it looks like. But there they are. And you can scroll through and so forth. If you hit the button, you scroll through them. I'm going to cancel back. Endpoints. I did do some endpoint setting. Well, let me show you the endpoints. Channel 6 and channel 5. I don't know if the channel 6 has to be 90%, but I did it anyways. But channel 5, 80% on up and lower range really seemed to make a big difference. And that was one of the points I saw on the forums of getting the safe selector switch to work, so you can go through the different modes of safe. So let's go back. Dual rate and expo, I kind of explained it. We'll come back to that. Throttle curve, I left that linear. Throttle cut, set that value to 0%. Basically all the way off. I assigned it. This is where you set your switch assignment. I'll hit it down so you can change your switch like that. But I set mine to channel 6. Channel 6 is this one back here. It's a 2-position switch, so that's why I use that one. Cancel, go back. Mixing, not going to mess with any of that stuff. Timer, this is where you can set where it goes up or down. I have the timer set. It goes down, then up. I have it set at 8 minutes. That's just the number I picked. Once it goes past the throttle position of 10%, it kicks on the timer automatically. Let's see what else we got in here. Auxiliary channels. This is where you set up your different features. The safe and the safe select, the panic, and the flaps. So let's get in there and take a look at that. So we get into that. Channel 5. Channel 5, I set to switch 5, which is this one back here. That's the safe select. You got 0, 1, 2, 3. That one had to reverse because it was backwards, but that was in the reversing. I'll show you. Channel 6. That's the panic. So you want to enable the panic recovery mode. So I set that to switch 8, which is this guy back here. The spring loaded. I had to change the reversal on that because this forward position was in the panic mode. I mean, the away from me position was a panic mode, and then back towards you turned it off. So that's why I had to reverse the servo on that, so it's the correct way. And then let's see, we'll go to channel 7. Channel 7 is the flaps. I picked S2, switch 2 to control my flaps, and then you got 1, 2, 3 positions on there, and then the rest of the channels you leave alone. That's really it. I did set up the dual rate, like I said. I guess I can show you the dual rate real quick on one of those. It's under Servo Setup. I'm sorry. No, it's not. It's right below it. So you have your different channels. So I had channel 1 and basically your aileron and your elevator over here, and you can see here what it's doing. You scroll down through here. What switch? I assigned to switch 4. So switch 4 position 0 is 100%. You switch the switch. I got a position 1, which is the middle position. I have an 85% dual rate and 25% exponential. Switch 3, 70% dual rate and exponential of 25 again. I just kind of set it up. The book says 70%. I don't know if I'll ever use it, but cancel out of there without setting it. Let's see, I think that's about it as far as getting the thing to actually work. Yep. If there's any other tips that I can think of, any questions, let's take a look at that flap servo real quick again. Oh, I screwed it down. You know what? I'm not gonna make you watch me take the wing off and so forth. You know, you've seen a servo go back and forth, so that's pretty self-explanatory. And there's a couple of good videos on doing the flaps. So that's about it on the setting up the carbon Cub S2 with the Orange RX TX10i Radio. Got any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'll try to either put up some videos with the or some graphics of how I have the settings. I'll put that up. I'll put this up so you guys can see it, but this is how I have it set up. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Take care. Thumbs up. If you don't like, 2 thumbs down. Have a good one.